Good evening, guys. My name is Joachim Okech. I'd like to welcome you to my free webinar, which is Keys to Detailing in ArchiCAD. The webinar will be short, and I'll be referring from two ArchiCAD projects which I have worked on, and I will be showing you the keys that you need to look at if you would like to detail effectively in ArchiCAD. So as you can see on your screen, I hope you're able to see my screen. There are 5 keys which I'll be looking at. There is the first one, you model only what is necessary. And under that, you're going to be looking at building materials and composites and complex profile. And I will be showing you how to use the various types of detail markers. I'll be showing you how trace and reference is invaluable when you choose to use independent details. And I'll be also showing you the reason why you should, when and how to use rebuild from model. And finally, I'll conclude by showing you how to use ArchiCAD structure to streamline your workflow. So we'll go into the first one. And the first one is model only what is necessary. In the process of detailing, you will find that there are special conditions which need to be detailed in your design. And these conditions are described either in plan or in section. And in few cases, they can be described in 3D sectional views, which can be generated from 3D documents. So for plan, I will use the detailed plan. And I'm going to show you how you can use building materials and composites to set yourself up, to show what it is that you would like to present. So I will use the detailed plan for this. And as you can see, this is a project that's been done purely by masonry and plaster, as you can see in the plan. So I might decide that I want to detail this condition here, how the door fixes onto the wall. This is a flush fixing. Or I may decide to show a different kind. And when detailing this, you will need to show all the layers of the wall so that you may be able to define accurately the clearances for that door. So you need to make sure that your building materials are done well. Or if it's in section, let me refer to one of these sections. You need to make sure that your materials are showing accurately so that you may be able to describe what it is that you want. So you know if it's concrete, that's being able to be accurately described. If it's masonry, that's what you're able to describe accurately. I'm also going to look at complex profiles. So first I'll go show you how to create composites materials. So the process of creating composites is very simple. All you need to do is go to options, element attributes, click on composites. So composites, ArchiCAD comes with a few generic ones that are found there, but you are free to choose which kind you want. So for this project, I used 4 composites. I used this masonry double plastered. I used this masonry single plastered, and I used these 2 tile floor finishes. So the process will create the masonry double plastered from scratch. How is it? Just click new, and you can call it whichever you want. So let's call it masonry wall double plaster. Click OK. So it always starts with the first material, and the first material is usually brick. So I'm going to define 3 layers. There is usually the outside layer, the middle layer, which is the core, and the inner layer. And ArchiCAD refers to them as skins. So let's insert those skins. And the first layer, they are categories, they are parameters that you need to define. There is this skin and separator. So this line is the separator, how it will be displayed graphically in your drawings, section or plan drawings. You also have the building material. This determines how it will be displayed, the surface, and also the fill pattern, the cut fill pattern, and also the cut pen. So the first one we're going to take is, let's look for plaster. Able to find it. Let's just go with plaster gypsum. And this has a thickness of, let's say, 50 millimeters. And it's not a core, it's a finish. So that's what we'll apply. The middle one, we want to use masonry. So let's look for that masonry. So that's masonry block structural. Let's take that. And the inner one is also plaster. So this is 50 millimeters, for example. And let's use 200 millimeters. Depending on your units, this will vary. If you use centimeters, this will be 5 centimeters, this will be 20 centimeters. If you use inches, that's, I can't convert of it. This maybe will be 8 inches. This will be 2 inches. Yeah. So, and now we have these lines that separate. So we have the outside line, we have the top line, this up here, we have the solid line that separates in between here. And we also have the inside line at the bottom. So normally you'd want the outside, the top line, since it's a wall, to be the heaviest. And since the layering is thin, you'd want to be able to accurately see the difference between these two. So I won't take such a heavy pen for the separator in between. So let's make it 0.2. This one we can use 0.2 as well. And the bottom one, let's take 0.4. And we also have pens in between here. So this refers to the pen that will be at the very edge, at the boundary of this wall that you're going to use. So let's take 4. Let's also take pen number 4. And pen number 4 for that. And there is a question on what elements are you going to use it with? So it will be illogical to use masonry for a floor or a roof. We'll use it for a shell, but then that will be illogical as well. So let's click OK. Let's draw this wall. So the way to use a composite wall is to go into your wall settings. You have 3 kinds of walls. You have either a simple structure, or a complex, or a custom one that you can define here. So we'll take the composite, and we'll take masonry wall, double plaster. I will not focus on the other setting. So let's just draw the wall, see how it will be. So as far as I can tell, the graphical properties are satisfactory. So remember, you need to define the outside pen. Then the outside pens, which are, you have an inside one and an outside one. You have this that separate the finishes from the core. And you have these that are going to be at the edge, the pens that define the edge of your material. So that's a simple way for you to be able to create your composites. Composites, you can create them for a variety of elements and using different materials depending on how you would like to layer your materials and how you want to use them. When it comes to complex profiles are effective when modeling conditions that you are unable to use the default tools here. So let's say, for example, I wanted the termination of that will end here to end with stone coping, for example. So I would need to create a complex profile that will define this, profile, this design that I want up the top here. So we'll go to options, complex profile, profile manager. And it starts with custom. So let's go to custom and edit. And it takes us to the edit profile tab. Sorry, I had skipped a step. So let's go to ground floor plan, and using lines, since that's what are displayed in complex profile, let's use fields instead. So I'm going to take a field that has the masonry block hatch and the cut field. The fill pen, the foreground fill pen will be white, the background one will be white. Let's draw that fill. So with this fill, the first dimension, let's make it 200. The next one, let's make it maybe 800. Enter. We also have outline. So let's make that outline to be 0.4. Let's go back to section, see how high I want my wall to be. So we activate the measure tool. We want that to be, say, 1.5 meters. Okay, so we need that wall to be 1.5 meters. So let's edit this fill and let's extend that. That's 800. So let's extend that by 700. We are going to use a very, very simple type. So let's make it cut stone. A very simple profile for the copying. So that's 200. So let's make that 250. Extend it out by 45. Create a 45-degree angle. Yeah. Pull it out. Also 50 mm. And change the outline as well to be 0.4. It's a structural material. Now with this, I can be able to create my complex profile. So the way to do this is select this which I've created, copy, and then I'll open again my complex profile manager, custom, click edit. Once I've clicked edit, I paste. So it will ask me paste where. So let's just say keep current view, center of current view. Okay. Let's drag this to the origin point there. Click OK. So complex profile gives me different, it enables me to modify, to have surfaces, to have contours, to have separators. So the layers for this, I'm going to use construction. it will be possible to we can modify the height possibly. Width will not need to modify the width. So the height is something that we might need to modify depending on our design situation. So this copying at the top is not a core. So let's make it other. And this is a core, so that's okay. And we see that these come with an attached surface that's been attached to the fill pattern. This fill pattern, since it's masonry block, already has this, it's attached to this surface, but I might decide to override it and give it another surface, whichever I want, but let's leave it at ashlar stone. This one is, we may decide to maybe override this, make it maybe granite red, see how it will look. Show cut end lines, and the cut lines are all on 0.4, which are my heavy pen, and use with wall. So we'll say use with wall, and the name we'll give it. So let's save. So save. So you need to deselect and then so that you can save. So let's call it wall with stone copying. Click OK. So now I'm able to use this wall with my complex walls. Please unmute if your microphone is unmuted. Please mute your microphone. So this wall, I wanted it to replace this one here. So I can just easily go to the wall settings and click this to be a complex. So this is a complex profile. And I just take that wall with stone copying, and it's linked to project 0. It all has all those settings. And at the moment, it's been cut by the roof. So let's remove this command, and we can view in 3D. That's not the 3D view I want. Let's take generic perspective. Yeah, so just like that, I'm able to create a condition which I would have been unable had I been using the default ArchiCAD files. And this is due to the use of complex profile. But I see that something is not as it should be here. So this surface, I would have wanted it to look like the top. So let's edit again. So I'll select the top here, and let's remove override surfaces and see how it will behave. Go back to my generic perspective, and yeah, so that change is able to be saved throughout my model. In whichever instance of this wall there was, I don't need to select this. I can just go into my profile manager, select the specific profile that I want to change, edit it, click save, and the change is instant. Okay, so we've looked at how to, under modeling, what's necessary, things that you need to look at. So when you model, there is a fine balance between modeling too much and modeling too little. So, and I've shown you that by using complex profile, you'll be able to model what is enough. Okay, so we'll go to the next one, and it's use detail markers. Whenever you want to create a detail, you should embrace the practice of using detail markers at all times. And there are three types of detail markers. There is a source marker, there is a linked marker, and there are unlinked markers. Source markers create a new detailed drawing when you place them. Linked markers are just markers without a drawing, but they are linked to a specific drawing on a layout or a viewpoint. And unlinked markers have no link to any viewpoint or drawing, wherever it may be. So I will navigate to a different file so that I can show you how I've been able to use these different types of markers. So once you open this is a source marker. And with source markers, I can navigate to that specific drawing by right-clicking it and saying open with current view settings. And when I open with current view settings, I'm able to go directly to that detail. But this detail, for this source marker, go back. In this specific source marker, I linked it to a worksheet. And I felt that using worksheets would enable me to display what I wanted effectively. Kindly mute if you are the one whose microphone raising. Yes, thank you. So source markers they take you directly to the drawing. Let me illustrate with this model here. So we'll go to our section view, and let's say we want to create a detail for what's happening here. So I'll open my detail tool, and under detail tool, there are a variety of settings that you need to look into. So there is the reference ID. Reference ID is important to help you organize your drawings. And you also have a name. So what's the name that you're going to give your specific detail? So this detail, let's just call it roof end. And it will ask us either to create new detail viewpoint, or to place linked marker, or to place unlinked marker. So a new detail viewpoint is that source marker. It will create it will place the marker, and it will also create a new detail drawing. A linked marker will have no drawing, but it will ask you to link it either to a specific detail or to a specific viewpoint. And an unlinked marker will just be there for aesthetics. I will say that. So the pen for this, I'm going to use, let's use 0.3. That's the pen I set for annotations. And there are different ways. You can either have one with no boundary, or have a geometry method which is polygonal, so that I can draw however much space I want to cover. And there is the default one, which is rectangular. So the rectangular one is quite simple. You drag 2 points. So it tells me that the layers are locked. So let's choose baseline. And we draw. So when we draw, we'll have the first click creates the box, and the second one asks me where to place this marker here. So this D01 is placed on the second click. And just as soon as I had done that, here on my details, there is a new detail here. By default, details are placed at double the scale of the drawing that they had come from. So this drawing was 1:50, and the detail that has been created is 1:25. I may need to have a larger detail, so that's something that I can easily do. 1:10, or I can have it as 1:20. And now in this drawing, now I'm able to delete. So once you create details, it does what you call, it explodes the building materials into fields and lines. So the cut fill pattern that you see here becomes just a cut fill. So if you select, you'll see that all this is a field that's been selected. And you are able to select bit by bit by suspending groups up here. So if you suspend your groups, you can select each separately. And the boundary lines, the boundary lines or the cut lines on your models become purely lines. So I can extend that, bring that to here, select this as well, bring that there. It's created two lines. So that as well. Select this, drag it there. And you'll see that when you create the detail, you have this boundary over here. So this boundary is a polyline. By default, ArchiCAD will create that boundary for you. But if I don't want that boundary, I'll go to view, not view, work environment, the work environment, go to more options, and under more options, choose and check this box, create detail or worksheet boundary in detail worksheet window. So the next detail I'm going to create, let's create a detail. You'll see that. Let's create this detail here. That there, and instantly it creates that, but the naming is different. So why did it environment options? So this is still there. Okay. So let's delete that. Let's delete that. And now I'll need to now add annotations to this. So I can start by inserting a break line. Maybe just a small thing. Let's edit this break line so that it can be shorter. The dash as now says that it's 19 millimeters long. So maybe let's make it 5 millimeters and see. And draw that. Yeah, that's probably better. Change the pen to that. Shorten it. Shorten it as well. Okay. So the process of annotating is just as you would do in any other drawing. You either use dimensions, can use, okay, sorry for that. Just created another line of giving me dimensions. So let's click on dimension tool, click there. So as I was saying, the process of annotating a drawing is just as you do in any other drawings by using your dimensions, your labels, your text tool. So under dimensions, I might need to change the size of the text, probably, if it's too large. And I'll also change the pen, since it's too wide. Let's make it, yeah. Change this to, that's better. Okay, so using your label tool, you can place any type. So the label type is either text or an annotation. And you have various kinds. So you can either place one that calls out the classification and properties. You can have one that calls out the composite or profile name. You can have one that calls out the elevation label. You can have one that calls out the surfaces. But since this in details, they have been exploded to current view, you can only insert one that calls out the text, that text that you want to input. So I will place it there. And there's already some text which was there. So let's change that. Let's call it, let's just type 200 lesson read, for example. But the process of annotating, you annotate what is the first thing you want to annotate, and then where has it been placed. So you call out all the dimensions of it and where it has been placed. So that's the process of creating a source detail with a source view, source mark. Let's look at details that have unlinked. So I might decide, I may have already a detail that I have. I may have details that are existing that I have already drawn, but they are not linked to my specific drawing. So what I will do is to create, let's go back to my section. Let's assume that this detail marker was non-existent. So deleting access marker will delete its viewpoint unless you choose to keep it as an independent viewpoint. So let's have this as an independent viewpoint, meaning that it's not being linked. So let's see if it's still there. Section 2C. Yeah, so it's there, but it's not linked to any viewpoint. It's a worksheet, it's drawings, but they've not been linked to anything. So I will go to my section view. I will go to detail. And under detail, I will say place linked marker. And linked marker, it now gives me the marker will refer to it's either selected viewpoint, selected drawing, selected first drawing of the selected viewpoint, or first drawing of the selected view. So let's pick first drawing of the selected viewpoint. I'll show you why in a second. And let's select the viewpoint, which is section through sync. It's independent with marker. Let's click OK. And let's draw the boundary. For that. And we have detail parameters at the moment. So let's edit those settings. So looking at the settings, you have the pen that it's using. So let's use that medium text plus dimensions. Let's also use medium text plus dimensions. And we have the marker text. So this name down here, the reason why I said referred drawing is because this detail has already been placed on a layout. So this is a drawing that has been placed on the layout, and we either, when referring our drawings, we either use the name or the layout ID. So when looking through your construction documents, the way to quickly find information is using these numbers here, these two and this A14. If you look at my layout, you'll find that there are numbers. There's an alphanumerical tag at the start of this layout name. So there is A11, A12, A13, A14, A15. This is a called a layout ID. And the purpose of this layout ID is to help you to sort through your layouts. So think of it as a page number, flipping through the pages of a document. So if I wanted to quickly find this drawing, it tells me that it's drawing number 2 on layout A14. So let's go to A14. Let's look for drawing number 2. And here we found it. This is drawing number 2. So just as I had said, the process of annotating is that you give all the dimensions possible. So the length times width times thickness, if possible, or height, and then call it as it is. Is it a subway tile, backsplash feast, or no? Masonry wall with sand and cement grout 1:2 for approval. So you have essentially two parts to the label. You have the element which you're calling out, and you have the point or the element to which that element has been fixed on. So if it's this cabinet door, where has it been fixed on? It's been fixed to this timber framework. And where has the timber framework been fixed? It's been fixed to the masonry wall. So you call it out all the way to the point of fixation to the building material, to the building element. So if it's a wall that it's been fixed to, call it out there. If it's a slab that it's been fixed to, in the case of, so this top plane. So it's a 25 by 90 timber framework top plane fixed to reinforced concrete slab to detail. I will describe the last type of detail marker. In very rare occasions, or in the event that you are working in a farm that already has standard details which they use, you'll find that instead of creating new details over and over again, they will have a standard library. And what they'll do is that they will just place those details on their layouts, but then they will link the details. So that's another way you will have. So you'll have just an unlinked marker, and it's just there for aesthetics purposes, I will say, just to show that there is information. Something to note, this mode of calling out referring to your drawing, this drawing number as well as the layout number, you can use it also for sections. You can use it for elevation markers. So that's something that you can experiment on. The way to use it with section markers is to go to your section settings. And when creating these section markers, make sure that it's a linked marker or a source marker, and the marker reference to make sure it's on first drawing of the selected viewpoint. If it's a source marker, it's a viewpoint. If it's a linked marker, it's a view. Okay. So something else to note is using trace reference. There might be events where you are drawing details that are not existing, that cannot be referred from your drawing. For example, this cabinet plan on the top. So this is a detail that I had to create. I could not have created it from the model because there was no way to show the plan of this cabinet. So the way I was able to create it is by using trace. And trace, you can either trace it onto an existing detail, or you can trace it to the section from which it's been created. So by using this, I can use tools such as my guidelines. You can see there are guidelines which are existing at the moment, so that it will show me how wide I need to have my timber elements. So trace is very important. Make good use of it in the event that you're creating a drawing, a detailed drawing, which cannot be referred from the plan. And whenever you create this detailed drawing, make sure that you'll find that it's an independent. So this is an independent drawing. So if you need to refer it back to the plan view, you'll just need to use you pick the detail tool, set it to linked detail, and just select first place drawing of the selected viewpoint, and that's it. So place linked marker. I'll go to the final thing, second last thing, which is reuse rebuild from models pairing. So from time to time, you'll find that you need to rebuild your details. I'm sorry that in this case, I'm using worksheets, but they function slightly the same. So you might need to rebuild from source. Let's say, for example, in my plan, let's go 3D. That's my key. That point. Okay, work. Okay, why can't I see my? Let me go back to post layout. Okay, like that. So there might be a change to the design of this cabinet, for example. And instead of having a cabinet with, let's take this sink here. Instead of having the sink at the middle, I might decide let's just have a cabinet without a sink. So it's a base cabinet, double door. So at the moment, I chose one with a sink. So we might decide instead of that sink, let's take the one with the double top or a rounded one. And obviously the size might change slightly. So let's click OK. I want to edit it. Let's take reconstruction. Enter. Oh yes, now I can see my elements. So, I noticed what I had done in this case. So I needed to have a sink here, but since I could not find a cabinet with this specific sink type, I just placed the sink there and executed solid element operations. So let's change the sink type instead. So it's a sink general. Let's change it to the round one. Let's change it to 350. Let's make it maybe 300. Keep oval shaped and click OK. So it's changed. And if we go into our section view, we find that this sink has obviously changed. Okay. That's an exploded view thinking. I don't know why I exploded this in current view. Okay, let's just create a new section viewport. Yeah, so we have that, and let's take our section tool and throw it there. So with this section, we will find that let's open this section, then current view settings. Why is this show? Shouldn't be showing me. Oh, so it's not a linked map. Let's create a new section. Okay. So this is a linked marker. Okay, create new section viewpoint. Let's do another section line. Yeah, so this section 09, let's open this current view settings. So we found that this detail may need to be changed. And that's the case where you will go into rebuild from source view. But because of editing a lot in 2D, you'll find that I can't say rebuild in the case of this one because it's an independent drawing, so I can only rebuild. But some here I might be able to rebuild. Yeah, so that's an object. Let's change the parameters of that object and show you what happens. Let's make it triple door instead. Be a little just as tall as it is. Is this a link? So this is a cabinet plan. And let's say rebuild from. So whenever you want to rebuild from the model, any associated elements will be placed, which are either labels or dimensions. You'll be asked, they cannot remain associative upon rebuild. So you'll need to either delete them or you can change them to static. So let's change these elements to static. And we see that now this change occurred. And as is custom with detail views, the same as worksheet views, it explodes everything to current view. So any line work that I had before will be retained, but then the model, the changes will be reflected. And these labels are no longer linked to a specific thing. And this dimension, I can't now edit this dimension. I can't add a new point. I can add a new point, but I cannot move them. So the dimension is mostly worthless, so to say. So only rebuild from source view when absolutely necessary. That's the thing to note. And if you choose to rebuild, you can only undo the change, but you cannot undo the rebuild. So I will be able, once I rebuild, the change that occurred in the source view will be retained. But if I choose to rebuild from source view, yes, I will have the changes that were there, the original ones, but these labels and these dimensions are no longer associated to my drawing here. So that's something to note. And the last thing to note is make sure that you use ArchiCAD structure to streamline your workflow. So ArchiCAD structure is you have the project map, you have your view map, you have your layout book. So I will focus mostly on layout book. In order to boost efficiency, make sure that you place your drawings on your layouts so that any change that occurs on the drawings will be reflected immediately. As, for example, this section here, this size of this sink that I had placed there, as you can see, the change is instant. And also make sure that you use your drawing tool when placing on your section, on your layouts, so that you'll be able effectively to link this specific drawing to the specific viewpoint or to another drawing in your drawing set. So for example, we have these drawings, we have this plan, and we need to navigate to this specific section. If it was a large drawing set, this would make more sense. But since this is a small drawing set, most of the drawings are on the same layout. So we have this section 01, A11, and so we go to A11 and section 01. So if you want to use this specific type of drawing title, this is the one that occurs at the bottom here. The reason why I prefer this drawing title is because it has three parts. It has the drawing ID, it has your drawing name, and it also has the scale. And it displays them in a very aesthetically pleasing manner. So the way I'm able to use this is by having choose linear drawing title, and under the drawing title, under title style, making sure it is a double row so that you can have the row for the drawing name and for the scale. Marker, you're free to choose whichever you want. You can either have pentagonal or circular, and make sure that you have drawing name at the top and you have drawing ID. So drawing ID, you can either place it at the top or center. So placing it at the top will leave you with a blank space at the bottom. So let's just place it center. Make sure you show drawing scale, and don't use original scale. Original scale will refer to the scale of the source view. By source view, I mean the view from which it has been taken. It's either the section view on your view map or the project map. So you may have created that drawing at scale 1:100, but when placing it on your views, you need it to be 1:50 or 1:200. So make sure you show drawing scale, but not the original scale. And when I'm done, okay, the change has been reflected there. So thank you for attending my webinar. I hope these are tips that you can put to good use as soon as possible. And yeah, thank you. So, okay, so before we conclude, I have a template. And the essence of a template is to store the attributes and the project structure that you have, that you're using. So in this template, I have basically everything that you would need to be able to create an efficient workflow for your project. Yes, I'll be sharing with you the recording. So in this template, I have building materials which are fairly easy to understand. I've classified them into different classes. So we have the concrete ones, we have masonry, we have metals, we have the woods and plastics, we have the thermal and moisture protection, we have finishes, we have landscape. We also have surfaces which have been linked to these specific drawings. And these surfaces, you'll find they are fairly accurate and will be able to show you what it is that you would like to see. So for example, for masonry, it does not come as just purely the brickwork that shows, but it's actually the masonry that shows there. I also have created a pen set that is different from the ArchiCAD. So you may like your drawings to show in purely black and white. And that's what this template does for you. And I've created it at different scales. You may have noticed this, that when changing from one scale to another, the sizes of the thicknesses of the pens changes as you move from a smaller scale to a larger scale, or from 1:50, for example, let's say to 1:5. And the reason for this is because the drawing is getting larger, so the visual perception of the pen widths is smaller. But with this pen set, I've created a pen set for each available scale, and it enables you to see that there is a variability. So for example, I created here pen checking. So let's focus on this top part. So you see in scale 1:5, the thickness is there. Go to 1:20, it's still the same. 1:50 and 1:100. So this is a thickness that you'll need to display in your drawings as you move forward. So if you would like the entire template as I have created it, normally I will sell the whole template at 2,000 shillings. But for a limited time, I will be making it available at 1,000 shillings. And this template, you'll find that it will enable you to do things such as showing different drawings. For example, how this is the same drawing, this is the same model, but I can show it in different modes. So I can either have a detailed view, or I can show it as a presentation view. Sorry for that, that's the wrong. Or a presentation view. And this is applicable also for elevations as well as sections. So in elevations, I may have that, or I may have that. So this, if you'd like to have the whole template, I'll be showing you how to use it. It's retailing right now for 1,000 shillings. I'll provide details on how to make the purchase. If you'd like just the pen set on its own, the pen set that I've created in this, if you'd like purely the pen set, this pen set will be retailing for 200 shillings. So the entire pen set with all the different scales. If you'd like the pen set plus the building materials as well as the composites, which together with the attached surfaces, this I cannot provide without the pen set because it will lose most of its value. So if you'd like both of them combined, they'll be going for 400 shillings. So I'll be providing details later on how you can make the purchase. So thank you for your time. It seems that everyone was able to understand, and I look forward to sharing more of my knowledge with you. And I look forward to meeting and interacting with you guys. So thank you, and we'll end the meeting here.